A woman wearing dirty clothes walks into an upscale restaurant, asking for food in exchange for work. The manager kicks her out in front of everyone, calling security. 3 minutes later, that same woman would save the restaurant from losing millions of dollars. And the manager? He would never be the same again. But let's start from the beginning. New York City, Upper East Side, a Tuesday afternoon in September, 5:30 p.m. On Madison Avenue, surrounded by mirrored buildings and luxury cars, stands the restaurant Le Délice Doré. 3 Michelin stars, 80 seats, walls covered in Italian Carrara marble. Crystal chandeliers imported from France, each one worth over $40,000. A place where one single dish costs more than many people make in a week. Ryan Foster is checking the tables in the main dining room. 34 years old, navy blue Armani suit, perfectly styled hair, a Rolex Submariner on his left wrist. He's been the manager for 3 years. He knows every VIP customer by name. He knows exactly how many steps to take between each table. He never sweats. Ryan runs his hand across table 12, Egyptian linen. He feels the texture between his fingers and smiles. Everything must be perfect. Because tonight is not just another night. At 9:30, the restaurant will receive a visit from Antoine Mercier, the famous food critic from the Gaston Guide. The man who can give or take Michelin stars with a single review. It's a surprise visit. No one knows which New York restaurant he'll show up at. But the PR team confirmed. It's tonight. It will be one of the 5 3-star restaurants in the city. If Le Délice Doré loses a star, the premium supplier contracts will be cancelled, $2.3 million in losses, maybe even bankruptcy. Ryan takes a deep breath. He's not going to let that happen. In the kitchen, Chef Pierre Dubois is finalizing the tasting menu. 58 years old, French, explosive temper. His hands shake slightly since he started taking anxiety medication. Pierre is preparing a red wine reduction with demi-glace. The copper pan shines under the LED lights. He tastes it with a small silver spoon and frowns. "Not right," he mutters in French. He adds another pinch of fleur de sel, tastes again, throws the spoon into the sink with force. Nothing is right today. The 5 cooks around him exchange worried looks. Everyone knows the signs. Pierre is on the edge. Ryan walks into the kitchen holding a tablet. "Chef, we have 74 confirmed reservations tonight. We need to be—" "I know what I need to do," Pierre yells. A heavy silence fills the room. Pierre grips the edge of the stainless steel counter, his knuckles turning white. "I'm sorry," he says in a lower voice. "It's just too much pressure." Ryan puts a hand on his shoulder. "It's going to be fine, Chef, like always." But Ryan doesn't sound convinced by his own words. Outside, 6 blocks away, Helen Vargas sits on the curb of East 63rd Street. 34 years old, brown hair tied back in a messy ponytail, jeans stained with grease, a white blouse that stopped being white a long time ago, an old backpack next to her. Inside, 2 changes of clothes, a toothbrush, her ID, and a crumpled photo. Helen hasn't eaten a hot meal in 2 days. She's looking at her phone. The screen is cracked in the upper right corner. Battery at 8%. 3 unread messages from unknown numbers, all of them about unpaid bills. Helen sighs and turns off the screen. 7 months ago, she was a completely different person. Executive chef at Basilico, a fine dining restaurant in downtown Manhattan, earning over $3,600 a month, a 2-bedroom rental apartment, her own car. But Basilico closed. Economic downturn. The owner went bankrupt. Helen sent out 132 resumes, went to 17 interviews, nothing. "The market's tough," they said. "You're overqualified," they said. "We'll call you," they said. They never called. The money ran out. Rent fell behind. The car was repossessed. She got evicted. She started sleeping on a friend's couch. Then another. Then her cousin's. Until there was no couch left. No friends. No cousins. Just the streets. And hunger. Helen stands up, puts on her backpack, and starts walking. She doesn't know where she's going. She only knows she needs food. She passes by a bakery. The smell of fresh bread fills the air. Her stomach growls loudly. She stops in front of the window. Loaves, cakes, pies, all perfectly wrapped in shiny plastic with price tags. A clerk looks at her through the glass, then locks the door from inside. Helen lowers her head and keeps walking. 20 minutes later, she's on Madison Avenue. And then she sees it. Le Délice Doré. Smoked glass facade. Golden cursive sign. Mahogany doors with gold-plated handles. Helen stops on the sidewalk. Through the glass she can see the table set, the crystal glasses shining, the waiters in spotless uniforms moving gracefully. And then she gets an idea. A desperate idea. But it's all she's got. Helen takes a deep breath, fixes her hair the best she can, wipes the dust off her jeans with her hands, and pushes the glass door. The cold air conditioning hits her face like a wave. Inside, the smell is of white lilies and polished wood. Soft classical music plays through the speakers, hidden in the ceiling. 3 waiters stop what they're doing and stare at her. A middle-aged black man in a burgundy vest is polishing glasses at the bar. He frowns. Ryan, standing in the back of the dining room, turns his head and freezes. His eyes scan Helen from head to toe. Dirty clothes, worn backpack, torn sneakers. He starts walking toward her. Firm steps, chin raised. Helen's heart races, but she doesn't move. "Good afternoon," she says. Her voice comes out weaker than she wanted. Ryan stops a few feet away, crosses his arms. "Good afternoon. Can I help you?" His tone is polite, but cold, the kind of politeness that cuts deeper than an insult. Helen swallows hard. "I came to ask if you need help in the kitchen. Anything. Washing dishes, peeling vegetables, cleaning." Ryan raises an eyebrow. "You're looking for a job." "Actually, Helena hesitates. "I just need something to eat. I can work for food. A few hours, I'll do anything." Silence. The waiters exchange glances. Someone lets out a quiet laugh. Ryan uncrosses his arms and slips his hands into his pockets. "Let me get this straight," he says slowly, as if explaining something to a child. "You walked into a 3-Michelin star restaurant dressed like that, and you want to work for food." Helen feels her face burn. "I know how to cook. I'm a trained chef. I used to work at—" "Chef?" Ryan smiles, but it's not a kind smile. "Chef of what? A food truck?" Someone laughs louder this time. Helen clenches her fists. "I worked in fine dining restaurants. I'm just going through a hard time and—" "Look," Ryan cuts her off. "I get that you need help. But this isn't the place. We have a strict hiring process. We need references, certifications, proven experience." "I have all of that," Helen insists. "If you just give me a chance, I can show—" "No." The word hits like a door slamming shut. Ryan steps closer. Now he's right in front of her, tall, intimidating. "Do you really think you can walk in here, looking like that, and I'll let you work in my kitchen? Do you think Chef Pierre, trained at Le Cordon Bleu, would ever agree to work with someone who just came off the street?" Helen feels her eyes sting, but she doesn't cry. "I'm not trash," she says quietly. "I didn't say you were. But look at you. Look around. These 2 worlds don't mix." Ryan turns to one of the waiters. "David, please escort the lady to the door." The black waiter in the burgundy vest hesitates. He looks at Helen with something that almost looks like pity. "Mr. Ryan, maybe we could—" "David." "To the door." David lowers his head, walks toward Helen. "I'm sorry," he whispers. "Please come with me." Helen doesn't move. "I just want one chance," she says, now looking straight at Ryan. "One chance to prove I can do this. That I deserve to be here." Ryan lets out a short laugh. "Deserve? You think the world works like that? You think wanting it is enough? I built my career with discipline, with study, with years of effort, not by taking handouts." He points to the door. "If you want food, there's a shelter 3 blocks away. They serve dinner at 7. They'll help you better than I can." Helen feels something break inside her chest. She looks around. Every employee is staring at her, some with pity, others with discomfort, 1 or 2 with disgust. She's completely alone. "All right," Helen murmurs. "I'll go." She turns toward the door, but before leaving she stops, turns her head back to Ryan. "Do you know the difference between a good manager and a great one?" she asks. Ryan crosses his arms again. "Enlighten me." A good manager protects the restaurant. A great manager sees value where no one else does. She pushes the glass door and walks out. The door closes with a soft, heavy sound. Ryan stands in the middle of the dining room. He feels something strange in his chest, an ache, a sharp little sting, but he shakes his head. Gets back to work. There's an important dinner tonight. No time to think about desperate women asking for charity, and then everything falls apart. It's 6:20 p.m. In the kitchen of Le Délice Doré, Pierre is setting up the mise en place for dinner service. Vegetables cut in perfect brunoise, sauces simmering in a water bath, proteins seasoned and seared. He's focused, finally focused. But then he feels it, a dizziness. Light at first, like the floor is gently swaying. He stops chopping chives, grabs the counter. The dizziness grows stronger. His vision starts to blur around the edges. "Chef?" one of the cooks asks. "Are you okay?" Pierre tries to answer, but no words come out. He feels tightness in his chest, a sharp pain on the left side. His left arm tingles. "Chef." Pierre drops to his knees. The knife hits the floor with a metallic clang. "Call an ambulance, now!" Two cooks rush to help. One grabs his phone, another holds Pierre by the shoulders. Ryan bursts into the kitchen. "What happened?" "It's Chef Pierre. I think it's his heart." Ryan turns pale. The ambulance arrives 8 minutes later. Paramedics rush in with a stretcher. They place Pierre on it, an oxygen mask over his face. "Is he going to be okay?" Ryan asks. "We need to take him right now," one paramedic says. "Looks like the beginning of a heart attack, probably caused by extreme stress." They rush out with the stretcher. Ryan stands frozen in the middle of the kitchen. 5 cooks look at him, waiting for instructions. "What now?" The sous chef, Lucas, asks. "We've got 74 reservations tonight. The Gaston guide critic could walk in any minute." Ryan wipes his face with his hand. "Can you take over the kitchen?" Lucas's eyes widen. "Me?" "Mr. Ryan, I've only been sous chef for 6 months. I've never led a service at this level by myself. But you know the recipes. You trained with Pierre. Knowing and performing under pressure are 2 different things. What if I screw up? What if the critic comes tonight and the food isn't perfect? We'll lose the star." Ryan clenches his jaw. "So what do you suggest? That we cancel all the reservations? Put a sign on the door saying, 'Sorry, no chef tonight'?" Lucas lowers his head. "No, sir. Then you'll lead this kitchen tonight. And you'll do exactly what Pierre would do. You can do it. I believe in you." Lucas takes a deep breath. "All right. I'll try." Ryan puts a hand on his shoulder. "Don't try. Do it." He walks out of the kitchen and goes straight to the office on the 2nd floor. He closes the door, sits in the leather chair, and puts his hands on his head. For the first time in 3 years, he doesn't know what to do. His phone vibrates. A message from the owner, François Beaumont. He reads it. "I heard about Pierre. Call me. Urgent." Ryan dials the number. 3 rings. François answers. Ryan, the voice is deep and tired. François is 62 years old and has been living in France for the past 3 years due to health problems. He rarely gets involved in the restaurant's operations. "Mr. Beaumont, Pierre is stable. I spoke with the hospital, but he's not coming back tonight. Probably not this week. I put Lucas in charge of the kitchen." Silence on the other end. "Lucas," François repeats slowly, "the sous chef of 6 months. He's good. He trained with—" "Ryan, listen to me carefully. If Antoine Mercier shows up tonight and the food isn't perfect, we lose the star. If we lose the star, the restaurant closes in 6 months. Do you understand that?" "Yes, sir." "Then you have 2 options. Cancel the service tonight and take the loss from 74 cancelled reservations. Or pray that Lucas is better than I think he is." François hangs up. Ryan stares at the phone. Meanwhile, 7 blocks away from the restaurant, Helen is sitting on a park bench. It's getting dark. The temperature has dropped. She's shivering a little. But it's not from the cold, it's from humiliation. She can still hear Ryan's voice echoing in her head. "Look at you. Look where you are. These 2 worlds don't belong together." Helen opens her backpack and takes out a crumpled photo. It's a picture of her 5 years ago, standing on a podium, holding a huge golden trophy. National Culinary Championship 2019. First place, Professional Chef category. She beat 143 competitors from 7 different states. Her winning dish was a modern take on a southern seafood stew with coconut milk foam and a cashew crust. The judges said it was one of the best things they'd ever tasted. She used to be somebody, now she's nobody. Helen puts the photo back inside the backpack and zips it. She stands up and starts walking aimlessly. She doesn't know that in 3 hours she'll go back to that restaurant. And she'll save the place that humiliated her. But before that happens, hell is about to begin. It's 8:15 p.m. Le Délice Doré is packed. All 74 tables are full. Soft conversations, gentle laughter, silver cutlery hitting fine porcelain plates. Everything looks perfect in the dining room. But in the kitchen, it's chaos. Lucas is sweating. His white apron is stained with sauce. His hair sticks to his forehead. I need 3 mushroom risottos, 2 sea bass with herb crust and 1 lamb with pomegranate sauce right now. The cooks move too fast. One drops a pan, another burns his hand and curses under his breath. An appetizer order comes back from table 23. The waiter sets the plate on the counter. They said the carpaccio is too salty. Lucas tastes it. It really is too salty. He closes his eyes, takes a breath. Remake it. But we're already behind on remake it. The cook grabs the plate and heads back to the station. Ryan walks into the kitchen and looks around. How's it going? Lucas doesn't answer. He's seasoning a reduction, tasting it, frowning, adding more time. Lucas, how's it going? Surviving. Ryan walks out of the kitchen before Lucas can see the worry on his face. Out in the dining room, he moves between the tables, wearing a professional smile glued to his face. Is everything all right with your meal? Wonderful, as always. And the wine, is it perfect? Exceptional. But Ryan notices small things. Table 12 has been waiting 20 minutes for their main course. Table 30 sent their dessert back because the ice cream was melted. Table 41 complained the bread was cold. Small mistakes. But in a 3 Michelin star restaurant, small mistakes are unacceptable. It's 9 p.m. A man walks into the restaurant, early 60s, thin, gold-framed glasses, perfect grey suit, leather briefcase under his arm. He didn't make a reservation, but speaks with the maître d' and gets a table. Table 18 in the corner, with a full view of the open kitchen. Ryan freezes when he sees the man sit down. He knows that face. Everyone in the industry knows that face. Antoine Mercier, Gaston Guide. The critic is here. Ryan feels his stomach twist. He walks to the table with the widest smile he can manage. Mr. Mercier, it's an honor to have you in our restaurant. Antoine looks at him over the top of his glasses. I didn't confirm my identity. How do you know who I am? Your reputation precedes you, sir. Antoine doesn't smile. I hope the food does too. I've dined at 3 restaurants this week, all disappointing. He picks up the menu. I'll have the full tasting menu, 8 courses, and pair the wines, please. It'll be our pleasure. Ryan leaves the table and heads straight to the kitchen. Lucas. The sous chef turns around. Yes? Antoine Mercier is at table 18. Lucas's face goes pale. The critic? Yes. He ordered the full tasting menu. Lucas lets out a nervous laugh. You've got to be kidding me. I wish I were. Lucas looks around. The kitchen is in controlled chaos. The cooks are on edge, barely holding it together. We're not going to make it, he mutters. Not tonight. Not without Chef Pierre. Ryan grabs his arm. You are going to make it. Because there's no other option. Do you understand? Lucas swallows hard. Understood. Then make the best dinner of your life. Because our future depends on it. Ryan walks out of the kitchen. He heads upstairs to the office, locks the door, and grabs his phone. He dials Francois's number. No answer. It goes to voicemail. Ryan throws the phone onto the couch. He sits down, buries his face in his hands, and for the first time in a long time, Ryan Foster feels fear. Back in the kitchen, Lucas starts preparing the first course of the tasting menu. Amuse-bouche, fresh oysters with yuzu foam and beluga caviar. He plates them with trembling hands. 3 oysters arranged in a perfect triangle. A tiny spoonful of caviar on each one. Yuzu air made fresh in the siphon. He looks at the plate. It's beautiful. But is it perfect? He doesn't know. The waiter takes the dish to table 18. Antoine picks up one of the oysters. He smells it, studies the presentation. Then he places it in his mouth, chews slowly, a neutral expression, swallows, says nothing. He takes out a small notebook from his briefcase and writes something down. In the kitchen, Lucas waits for feedback, but none comes. How did he react? Lucas asks when the waiter returns. He didn't say anything, just took notes. Lucas feels sweat dripping down his back. Second course, wild salmon carpaccio with pistachio crust and 20-year balsamic reduction. Third course, saffron risotto with black truffle shavings. Fourth course, linguine with seafood and lobster bisque. Each plate leaves the kitchen. Each plate comes back empty. Antoine gives no reaction, no smile, no frown. He just eats, writes, eats, writes. It's 10 o'clock, 5th course. Grilled sea bass with herb crust and golden potato puree. Lucas is plating, but he's tired. His hands are shaking. He flips the fish in the pan. Too fast. The skin tears. No, 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 he yells. He looks at the ruined fish. There's no time to start over. The kitchen is already backed up with other tables, but this dish is for the critic. Lucas makes a choice, a terrible one. He plates the imperfect fish, hides the torn skin underneath, and covers it with sauce. It'll have to do, he mutters. The waiter delivers the dish. Antoine cuts into the fish and sees it. The torn skin, the flaky texture, the wrong consistency. He stops eating. He writes something down in his notebook. A long note this time. Ryan watches from a distance. He saw it. He knows. They failed. It's 10:20 p.m. Antoine Mercier is on the 6th course, lamb with pomegranate sauce and glazed vegetables. He's eating slowly, analyzing every detail. Suddenly, a loud crash erupts in the kitchen. A pan hits the floor. Glass shatters. Someone screams. Conversations in the dining room stop for a moment. Everyone looks toward the open kitchen. Ryan rushes in. Lucas is on the floor. He's cut his hand on a piece of glass. Blood dripping from his fingers. I can't do this anymore, Lucas shouts. I can't do it. I'm not Pierre. I'll never be him. 2 cooks help him up. Another wraps his hand in a clean towel. Ryan looks around. The kitchen is falling apart. Half the orders are late. Plates abandoned on counters. A small fire starts in a pan no one's watching. He grabs an extinguisher and puts it out, and then he hears a voice behind him. I can help. Ryan turns around. Helen. She's standing at the kitchen door, still wearing the same dirty clothes, the same backpack, but her eyes are different, focused, determined. What are you doing here? Ryan asks. I was walking by. I saw the commotion, heard the noise. She looks at Lucas being helped up. You need help. We don't need... Yes, you do. Helen drops her backpack, walks to the sink, washes her hands, ties her hair back. How many dishes are left? Ryan doesn't answer. How many? She repeats. Lucas answers weakly. 2. 2 courses from the tasting menu for the critic, and about 23 plates for the other tables. Helen takes a deep breath. I can handle it. You don't even know what we're serving, Ryan says. Then tell me. Ryan starts to argue but stops. He looks into her eyes, and he sees something there. Confidence. Real confidence. The 7th course is duck breast with red berry reduction and sweet potato puree, he says slowly. Helen nods. Temperature on the duck. 58 degrees in the center. Seared on the outside. Reduction, raspberry, blackberry and blueberry with balsamic vinegar and orange blossom honey. Helen walks to the fridge, opens it, looks inside. She takes out the duck breast, weighs it in her hand, smells it. This duck is Barbari breed. It was butchered 3 days ago. It's at the perfect point of aging. Ryan frowns. How do you know that? Helen doesn't answer. She's focused. She picks up a Wusthof knife from the counter, tests the edge with her thumb. sharpens it quickly on a steel rod. Then she starts working. Her movements are precise, fast, almost hypnotic. She slices the duck at a perfect angle, seasons it with sea salt and freshly ground black pepper, places it in a cast-iron skillet already hot. The sound of the sear is perfect, crisp, even. While the duck cooks, she prepares the reduction: fresh raspberries in a small saucepan, blackberries, blueberries, a drizzle of 20-year balsamic vinegar, a spoonful of orange blossom honey. She stirs with a wooden spoon, tastes, adds a pinch of pink peppercorn, tastes again, and smiles for the first time. The cooks around her have stopped working. They're all watching. "Don't you all have dishes to make?" Helen asks without taking her eyes off the skillet. They go back to work. But they keep sneaking glances. Helen flips the duck, adds a small cube of butter. It foams. She spoons the melted butter over the duck, removes it from the pan, lets it rest for 90 seconds while she works on the sweet potato puree. She tastes the puree that was already made, frowns. This puree has no salt and no texture. She adds salt, a spoonful of truffle butter, whips it with a fork until creamy, then slices the duck into thin pieces. The meat is pink in the center, perfectly medium rare. She plates it. 3 slices of duck fanned out on the plate, a quenelle of puree on the side, the berry reduction painted in delicate strokes around it. She finishes with micro watercress leaves and orange zest. "Done," she says. Ryan looks at the plate. It's flawless. Better than Pierre's dishes, better than anything he's seen come out of this kitchen tonight. "Take it to table 18, Helen says to a waiter. The waiter picks up the plate and leaves. Antoine Mercier receives the 7th course. He looks at it. The presentation is perfect. He cuts a slice of duck, examines the color. Pink, juicy. He takes a bite, with a bit of puree and sauce, chews slowly, closes his eyes, chews again. And then something happens that no one has ever seen. Antoine smiles, a small smile, barely noticeable, but it's a smile. He takes his notebook, writes something down, underlines it twice. In the kitchen, Helen is already working on the 8th course, the final one. "What is it?" she asks. Ryan hesitates. Deconstructed bouillabaisse with an 18-spice reduction. Helen stops. "That's the hardest dish on the menu." "I know." "How many ingredients?" 32. Helen takes a deep breath. "I'll need help. You have the whole kitchen." Helen looks around. The 5 cooks are waiting. "You, listen carefully. We're doing this together, but you'll do exactly what I say. No questions. Understood?" They all nod. "You," she points to a young cook, "make the fish stock. Use halibut bones, celery stalks, onion skins, and bay leaves. Boil hard for 12 minutes. You," she points to another, "clean the seafood. Mussels, shrimp, squid. Remove every impurity." You, she points to a woman around 30, prepare the tomato base. Confit tomatoes with garlic, olive oil, and fresh thyme. Everyone gets to work. Helen grabs a stone mortar and pestle and starts crushing spices. Saffron, fennel seed, coriander, cayenne, dried orange peel, lemon zest, star anise, cardamom, cumin, smoked paprika, clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, ginger, turmeric, mustard seed, and black pepper. 18 spices. The aroma rising from the mortar is intoxicating, sweet and spicy at the same time, complex, deep. Ryan watches from a distance. He's never seen anyone work like this, not even Pierre. Helen is different. She's not just cooking, she's creating. 15 minutes later, the dish is ready. A deep white porcelain bowl. At the bottom, amber-colored fish broth reduced with the 18 spices. On top, the seafood arranged like art. Mussels opened wide, showing orange flesh. Seared shrimp with crisp shells. Tender, fragrant rings of squid. In the center, a saffron foam made in the siphon. Around it, rustic bread croutons rubbed with garlic. Helen finishes with a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil and petals of edible flowers. "Done," she says softly. The waiter carries the dish out. The kitchen falls silent. Antoine receives the final course. He looks at it, smells it, closes his eyes and inhales again. He takes a spoon, tastes the broth. His face changes completely. He opens his eyes slowly, staring at the bowl as if seeing food for the first time in his life. He tries a mussel, a shrimp, a piece of squid. Each bite feels like a revelation. When he's done, he sets the spoon on the table. He sits in silence for almost a full minute. Then he stands, picks up his briefcase, walks toward the open kitchen. Every employee freezes. Antoine stops at the kitchen entrance, looks straight at Helen. "Who prepared the 7th and 8th dishes?" he asks in heavily accented French. Helen steps forward. "I did." Antoine removes his glasses, wipes them with a cloth, puts them back on. "Are you the new chef?" "No. I'm—" Helen hesitates. "Just someone who was passing by." Antoine frowns. "You're joking with me." "No, sir. What's your name?" "Helen." "Helen Vargas." Antoine freezes completely. He tilts his head slightly. "Helen Vargas," he repeats slowly. "Champion of the South American Culinary Competition, 2019. Professional chef category." Ryan's jaw drops. "How do you know that?" Helen asks. "I was one of the judges." The kitchen goes silent. Antoine walks toward her and stops just a few inches away. "You made a Brazilian seafood stew with coconut milk foam and a cashew crust. It was the best dish of that competition. I gave it a perfect 10, the only 10 I've given in 20 years as a judge." Helen feels her eyes fill with tears. "Thank you, sir. What is a chef of your level doing here, dressed like this, cooking without warning?" Helen doesn't answer. Antoine looks around. He sees Lucas with his hand bandaged. He sees the exhausted cooks. He sees Ryan pale in the corner. He understands everything. "You were in crisis," he says, "and she saved the service." Ryan finally manages to speak. "Mr. Mercier, I can explain." Antoine raises a hand. Ryan goes silent. "No need to explain. I saw everything. The first dishes were mediocre. The 5th course, especially the sea base, was poorly executed. If the dinner had ended there, you would have lost a star." Ryan feels his knees go weak. "But then," Antoine continues, "the 7th and 8th dishes arrived, and they were transcendent, especially the bouillabaisse. It was one of the best interpretations I've ever tasted. The complexity of the spices, the balance, the courage to deconstruct a classic without destroying it." He looks at Helen. "You have a rare gift. Maybe one of the 10 greatest talents I've seen in 40 years of judging restaurants." Helen can't speak. Tears roll down her face. Antoine turns to Ryan. "This restaurant will not lose its star because of her. But you need a new head chef. And from what I've seen, she's standing right in front of you." Ryan looks at Helen, really looks at her for the first time. And he sees, not the woman in dirty clothes begging for food, but the chef, the champion, the artist. Antoine picks up his briefcase. "Good night. My full review will be published next week." He walks out of the restaurant. The kitchen stays dead silent for 10 seconds, and then everyone starts clapping. The 5 cooks, the waiters watching from the hallway. Even Lucas, with his injured hand, claps using his good one. Helen is trembling, from exhaustion, from emotion, from relief. Ryan walks up to her. He's not clapping. He's just looking. He starts. His voice cracks. "I'm sorry." Helen wipes her tears. "For what? For everything. For judging you. For kicking you out. For not seeing who you really were." He extends his hand. "Will you forgive me?" Helen looks at his hand. Then she does something unexpected. She ignores it and hugs him instead. Ryan stiffens for a second, then hugs her back. "Thank you," he whispers. "You saved this place. You saved all of us." But the story doesn't end here. It's 11:30 at night. The restaurant is empty. The tables are cleaned. The dining room lights are off. In the kitchen, Helen sits on a stainless steel stool eating. For the first time in 2 days, she's eating something warm. A simple plate she made herself. Rice, beans, steak, and salad. But for her, it's the best meal of her life. Ryan walks into the kitchen. His jacket is off. The sleeves of his shirt are rolled up. He looks 10 years older than he did 6 hours ago. "Mind if I sit?" he asks. Helen points to the stool next to her. Ryan sits, stays silent for a moment. "I called Francois, the owner," he says. "I told him everything that happened, and he wants to talk to you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Helen stops chewing. "Talk about what?" "About taking over as executive chef." The fork slips from her hand and hits the plate with a loud clink. "You're serious?" "Completely. Pierre is retiring. He made the decision tonight from the hospital, said it was a warning. His body can't handle the stress anymore." Ryan looks at her. "The restaurant needs a new chef. And after what I saw tonight, you're the right person." Helen shakes her head. "Ryan, I'm homeless. I don't have a place to stay. I don't have clean clothes. I don't even have money for the bus." "I know. And that's why I also talked to Francois about an advance on your salary and about temporary housing until you get back on your feet." Helen can't find words. "Why are you doing this?" she asks. "After everything." "Because I was wrong, completely wrong." Ryan lowers his head. "I spent 3 years managing this place thinking I knew what excellence was. Thinking excellence was about the right uniform, the right posture, the right appearance." He looks at her. "But tonight, you showed me where excellence really lives. Here," he says, tapping his chest. "And here," he points to her head. "It doesn't matter what clothes you wear. It doesn't matter where you came from. What matters is what you're capable of creating." He stands, walks to a cabinet, grabs something, comes back. It's a chef's uniform, impeccable. White, with the Le Délice Doré logo embroidered on the chest. This belonged to Pierre. "It's too small for Lucas, but I think it'll fit you." Helen takes the uniform, runs her hand over the fabric. It's soft, smells new. "Thank you," she whispers. "No, thank you." Ryan walks toward the door. Before leaving, he stops. "You know, there's something you said this afternoon when I kicked you out." Helen looks at him. "You said a great manager sees value where no one else does." He smiles for the first time, a real smile. "You were right. And today, you taught me how to see again." He leaves. Helen stays alone in the kitchen, holding the uniform, crying. But this time they're not tears of humiliation, they're tears of a new beginning. The next morning at 10 o'clock, Helen is in the upstairs office. She slept in a nearby hotel paid for by the restaurant, took a long hot shower, put on clean clothes Ryan bought for her at a department store. She doesn't look like the woman she was 6 months ago, but she looks like herself again. Francois Beaumont sits behind a mahogany desk. He took a red-eye flight from Paris and landed in New York just 3 hours ago. Grey hair slicked back, reading glasses on a gold chain, navy wool suit. "Miss Vargas," he says in a soft French accent. "It's a pleasure to meet you." "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Beaumont. Please, have a seat." Helen sits in the leather chair across from him. Francois folds his hands and studies her carefully. "Ryan told me everything," he says, "and I spoke with Antoine Mercier this morning. He told me you're one of the most talented chefs he's ever seen. Coming from him, that's extraordinary. Helen doesn't know what to say. I'd like to offer you the position of executive chef at Le Délice Doré. A salary of $4,200 a month, profit share and full creative freedom to design the menu." Helen's heart races. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes." Helen laughs, nervous but excited. "Yes, yes, I accept." Francois smiles. He opens a drawer and takes out a printed contract. "Sign here, and here, and here." Helen signs, her hands trembling slightly. Francois puts the contract away. "Welcome to the team. You start on Monday." He stands and extends his hand. Helen shakes it. "May I ask you something?" he says. "Of course." "Why did you come back? Last night, after being humiliated, after being thrown out? Why did you come back to help?" Helen thinks for a moment. "Because when you hit rock bottom, you have two choices. You can grow bitter and wish the world would burn, or you can remember who you really are and show the world what you're capable of." Francois smiles, a proud smile. "You're going to be an extraordinary chef." I can feel it. Helen leaves the office, walks down the stairs and steps into the kitchen. Ryan is there with the whole team, the 5 cooks, Lucas with his hand still bandaged, the waiters, even David from the bar. They all start clapping. Helen laughs and hugs each one of them. "Let's make this place something incredible," she says. And for the first time in a long time, Helen believes in the future. But there's one last thing, one last lesson. Ryan walks up to her. "Can I talk to you privately?" They move to a quiet corner of the kitchen. "I want to apologize again," Ryan says, "from the bottom of my heart. Not just for yesterday, but for everything I represent." Helen frowns slightly. "What do you mean? I'm the kind of person who judges a book by its cover, who sees someone struggling and thinks, that person doesn't belong in my world. I've built walls instead of bridges. And last night, you showed me how destructive that can be." He looks straight into her eyes. "You didn't just save this restaurant, you saved me, from becoming someone I don't want to be." Helen places a hand on his shoulder. "You know what I learned on the streets?" she says. "I learned that nobody is more than 3 bad decisions away from being exactly where I was. Nobody. Not you, not me, not Francois." She smiles. "So don't be too hard on yourself. We all fail. What matters is what we do after we fail." Ryan hugs her. "Thank you," he whispers, "for everything." That night, Helen sleeps in a small apartment the restaurant rented for her. Simple furniture, a bed, a wardrobe, a table, and 2 chairs. But to her, it's a palace. She lies on the bed, staring at the ceiling. She can't sleep, overwhelmed by emotion. She grabs her phone. Still 8% battery left. She opens her old messages. Debt collectors. One by one, she replies. "I'll pay. Sorry for the delay. I'm back on my feet." She turns off the screen, closes her eyes, and sleeps. For the first time in 7 months, she sleeps without fear. And then 6 months pass. March, 6 months later. Le Délice Doré looks different, not physically. The tables are the same, the marble still shines, the chandeliers still sparkle, but something changed. The energy, the soul. Helen stands in the kitchen, hair tied in a bun, perfect white chef's uniform, a calm confidence in her eyes. She's training 2 new cooks, both young. One of them, a 23-year-old named Kyle, was living on the streets just 3 months ago. "No, not like that," Helen says. "You're cutting the onion too thick. It needs to be brunoise, 2mm cubes." "Try again," Kyle tries. "This time it's better." "Yes, exactly. See how different it is when you have patience." Kyle smiles, a shy but proud smile. This is the Plates and Purpose Project, the program Helen created 2 months ago. The restaurant now employs 5 people who were once homeless. They work in the kitchen, on the floor, in cleaning. They earn fair wages, wear uniforms, eat well, and get help finding housing. The press loved it. Features in 3 major newspapers, an interview on the most watched morning show in the country. But for Helen, it's not about publicity. It's about giving back. It's about never forgetting where she came from. Ryan walks into the kitchen. He's different too. Less tense, lighter. "Helen, it's here, what is?" "The letter, from the Gaston Guide." Helen's stomach tightens. She wipes her hands on her apron and follows Ryan to the office. Francois is there. He's been living back in New York since Helen took over. Says he can't stay away. On the desk, there's a cream envelope sealed with gold wax from the Gaston Guide. "You open it," Francois says. Helen takes the envelope. Her hands tremble slightly. She tears it open, pulls out the letter, unfolds it, reads. Her eyes widen. "What?" Ryan asks. "What does it say?" Helen can't speak. She just turns the letter around for them to see. Francois reads aloud. "It is with great pleasure that the Gaston Guide awards Le Délice Doré its 4th Michelin star. A rare honor. Only 17 restaurants in the world hold this distinction. Chef Helen Vargas has revolutionized cuisine with creativity, flawless technique, and above all, soul. Her dishes are not just food, they are experiences, they are stories, they are art, silence." And then the 3 of them scream, jump, hug each other. The door bursts open. The whole team rushes in, wanting to know what happened. "Fourth star," Ryan shouts. The kitchen explodes in celebration. Champagne pops, hugs everywhere, tears fall. Helen steps out into the dining room. She needs air, needs a moment to take it all in. She leans against the glass wall, looking out onto Madison Avenue. Cars pass, people walk by, life goes on. Ryan approaches. "How do you feel?" Helen smiles. A huge smile. "I feel complete. You deserve it. Every bit of it." Helen looks at him. "You know what is funny? 6 months ago I was right there." She points to the sidewalk across the street with no idea what to do. No idea if I would make it. She looks at her reflection in the glass. "And today I have everything again, not just a job, not just money, but dignity, purpose." She turns to Ryan. "And you know what I learned," she continues. "Shaming someone for how they look is betting that the packaging matters more than what is inside. But true masters know this. The best wine can be in a dusty bottle. The greatest gem can be in the most unlikely place. The greatest talent can be in the person you least expect." Ryan nods. "You taught me that, and I will never forget it." That night, the restaurant hosts a special dinner, free, for 50 people experiencing homelessness. They sit at the same tables with Egyptian linen. They eat on the same Bernardaud porcelain. They are served with the same dignity as any paying guest. Helen cooks each dish herself: pumpkin soup with croutons, roast chicken with vegetables, octopus rice, tiramisu for dessert. At the end of dinner, a woman in her 60s walks up to Helen. "Thank you," she says, her voice trembling. "It has been so long since anyone treated me like a person." Helen holds her hand. "You have always been a person. Always." The woman cries. Helen hugs her. In that moment, Helen understands, truly understands. It is not about Michelin stars. It is not about recognition. It is not about money or fame. It is about humanity. It is about seeing the other. It is about never forgetting that all of us, at some point, need a helping hand. Weeks later, Helen gives an interview to a major food magazine. "What was the most important moment of your life?" the journalist asks. Helen thinks. "It was the day I asked for food in exchange for work, and I was humiliated." The journalist frowns. "How is that important?" "Because that day I learned 2 things. First, I learned what it feels like to not be seen, to be treated as invisible, as less." She pauses. "Second, I learned that our greatest strength is not to never fall. It is to stand back up when everyone thinks you should stay down." The journalist writes everything. "What would you say to people who are going through hard times right now?" Helen looks at the camera, knowing thousands will read that interview. "I would say this. Rock bottom has a glass floor. When you think you cannot fall any farther, you can see through it. You can see who you really are underneath everything. And when you stand up after that, you stand up whole. You stand up true. You stand up unbeatable." The interview is published. It goes viral. More than 2 million shares. Helen receives hundreds of messages from people unemployed, from people in depression, from people who lost everything, all saying the same thing. "Thank you for reminding me that I can start over." And Helen replies to every message one by one, because she knows what it is to need hope when there is no light. 2 years later, Le Délice Doré has 6 employees who came through the Plates and Purpose project. 3 of them have already been promoted. Kyle, the 23-year-old, is now a sous chef. He is saving to open his own restaurant. The program has expanded. Now there are 12 restaurants in New York City that adopted the model. 230 people employed. 230 lives transformed. Helen sits on the same park bench where she sat that afternoon 2 years ago. But now she is not hungry, not desperate, not lost. She is remembering, honoring the journey, never forgetting where she came from. Ryan sits beside her. "I knew I would find you here." "How?" "You always come here when you need to think." Helen smiles. "You know me well. 2 years working together. I should know." They sit in silence for a moment, just watching people pass by. "Do you regret anything?" Ryan asks. "About everything that happened," Helen thinks. "No, not for a second, because everything brought me here. The success, the fall, the humiliation. the new beginning, everything. She looks at him. And you? Do you regret throwing me out that day? Ryan laughs. Every day. But I also give thanks every day that you came back, that you gave me a second chance to do the right thing. He stands and offers his hand. Shall we go? We have an important dinner tonight. Helen takes his hand and stands. Let's go. They walk back to the restaurant side by side. Two people who made mistakes, learned and grew together. As they walk, Helen thinks of something. She thinks of the woman she used to be, the successful chef who never looked down, who never saw the invisible people. She thinks of the woman she became, someone who fell so far she learned to see what truly matters. And she thinks of the woman she is now, strong, whole, true. Because in the end, the greatest transformation did not happen when she got everything back. It happened when she lost everything and discovered she was still someone. That night after service, Helen is alone in the kitchen. It is midnight. Everyone has gone home. She is wiping down the stainless steel counter, slow circles. She loves this moment. The silence, the calm. Her phone vibrates. A message. It is from an unknown number. She opens it. Hi, Helen. I do not know if you will remember me. I am the woman who had dinner at the restaurant a few weeks ago during the free night. You hugged me at the end. I just wanted to tell you I got a job. After that night, I felt like maybe I still had value, so I tried, and I did it. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for reminding me that I exist. Maria. Helen reads the message 3 times. She sits on the steel stool and cries. But they are good tears, tears that cleanse the soul. She types a reply. Maria, I did not forget you. I will never forget you. You always had value. Always. I am so happy for you. If you need anything, reach out. Helen. She sends it, puts the phone away, wipes her tears, stands up, turns off the kitchen lights, locks up, and goes home. 3 years later. Final chapter. Helen stands on a stage in Paris. 3,000 people in the audience, chefs from around the world, food critics, journalists. She has just received the Bocuse d'Or, the most prestigious award in the culinary world. The trophy is in her hands, heavy, golden, bright, but her eyes shine even brighter. She steps to the microphone. Thank you, she says in Portuguese, then in English, then in French. This award is an immense honor, but I cannot accept it alone. She looks out at the audience. 3 years ago, I was on the street. No food, no hope, no future. I asked for help and I was humiliated. I was thrown out. I was treated like trash. Silence fills the auditorium, but someone gave me a second chance, and then a third, and a fourth. And that person taught me that cooking is not about impressing. It is about feeding. It is about nourishing. It is about love. She lifts the trophy. So I dedicate this award to all the invisible people, to those who sleep on the streets, to those who ask for food, to those who are ignored, humiliated, and forgotten. Her voice grows stronger. You are not invisible, you are not trash, you are human, you are worthy, you matter. The audience rises, 3,000 people on their feet applauding. Helen leaves the stage and hugs Ryan in the front row, hugs Francois, hugs her team. Outside the theater, a crowd of journalists waits. Helen, what will you do now? She smiles. I am going back to New York. I am going back to my kitchen. I am going to prepare tomorrow's dinner. Because that is what chefs do. We feed people. And what is your message to the world? Helen pauses. Thinks. Do not judge a book by its cover. Do not decide a person's value by the clothes they wear or where they sleep. Inside every person there is a story. And some of the most beautiful stories are inside the most wounded people. She walks to the car. Inside, finally alone, she looks out the window. The lights of Paris flash by, and she whispers to herself, I did it. I really did it. But more important than doing it is remembering why she did it. It was not luck. It was not only talent. It was resilience. It was refusing to accept that the end was the end. It was standing back up when everyone expected her to stay down. And that, in the end, is the greatest victory of all. The end. If you are hearing this story and you are going through a hard time, remember this. You are not what happened to you. You are not your losses. You are not your failures. You are who you become after all of it. Helen could have given up. She could have accepted that it was the end, but she did not. And you do not have to either. It does not matter how far you have fallen. It does not matter how many doors have closed in your face. It does not matter how many times they said you were not good enough. Stand up. Try one more time. Because your story does not end in the bad chapter. It only ends when you decide to stop writing. And you should never stop writing. If this story inspired you, leave a like, share in the comments what moved you the most, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories of courage, strength, and redemption. Turn on the notification bell. Every new video is a life lesson worth hearing. The end.